Hey everyone, thank you for listening to another episode of Dan Tony Sports. My name is Dan Snyder, joined tonight by the one and only Dan O'Shea. Tony and Dan Beebe are both off tonight. Dan O'Shea, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Stressed at work, but happy to be here.
That's good. It's good to hear. We have been off for the last week, so we missed a whole bunch of good stuff, but we've got about an hour and a half to talk sports, so we're going to have to skip a whole bunch of crap and only talk about the most important things, like college football, the NFL, fun stuff, Lonzo Ball, the usual. So, Dan, you ready to get into it?
I'm ready.
Perfect. We're going to start, as always, with our pigskin poetry. The Bills made the playoffs. The Jaguars did too. The Rams have as well, and I don't know what to do. These teams were bad on the outside looking in. Now they're all in the running for a Super Bowl to win. The Cowboys are out. The Giants are done. The Ravens are watching from home, and the Browns haven't won. 0-16 and having a parade. This is the biggest egg that they could have laid. The Patriots are annoying. Their fans are always bragging. But I have jumped on that Vikings bandwagon.
All right.
This season was weird, but it was also fun. And I'm going to be sad when the season is done. I'm going to miss it. You know, the first 3 weeks sucked.
Yeah.
They were awful. But, you know, bad football is better than no football, right?
Uh-huh. And yeah, we're going to have no football very soon, unfortunately.
Although, here in Albany, we'll have the Arena Football League starting in March.
That is true.
Yes, and supposedly, I don't know if it's going to happen this year, but Vince McMahon is bringing back the XFL, so we're going to get to see a bunch of people knock the snot out of each other while playing football.
Love it.
So I'm pretty excited for that. I hope they bring back the Memphis Maniacs. They were my favorite team. But for right now, we have actual football to talk about. I'm just going to run down the scores of a few bowl games that had happened. Only like the ones that are recent and somewhat important. Louisville versus Mississippi State. That game, I don't know if you've gotten to watch it. It wasn't good at the beginning, but it got good toward the end. Somehow Mississippi State beat Louisville. That score was 31-27. A couple of games that have interest for us here at Dan Tony Sports. Penn State 35, Washington 28. That was a very good game.
Yep.
Ohio State 24, USC 7. Not a good game.
Yeah, not a very good game. I didn't actually watch that one.
Iowa State 21, Memphis 20. That was great. That was a great game. Unfortunately, Memphis lost. Wisconsin 34, Miami 24.
That one I enjoyed.
Go Badgers. Hate Miami.
Yep.
South Carolina 26. Misha sucks 19. Central Florida with the big win of the season. 34-27 over Auburn.
That was very impressive.
Notre Dame 21, LSU 17. Georgia 54, Oklahoma 48. And what was probably the best bowl game.
That was a hell of a game.
2 years in a row, the Rose Bowl was like the premier game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get the national championship last year was really good too, but I think the Penn State USC Rose Bowl was definitely better.
Yeah, that was, the Orange Bowl after that was very boring too, so I'm sure a lot of people turned that off at like halftime.
No, that was 24-6 Alabama over Clemson. So I took the liberty of doing the dirty work for the playoff committee, and I put together my own 8-team playoff, ideal based on the results of the bowl games.
Okay.
So number one, I'll still put Clemson in there because this is what it should have been going in. But number 8, they would play Central Florida. 1 versus 8, Clemson versus Central Florida. 2 versus 7, I've got Oklahoma versus Penn State, which I think would have been a really good game because you got two similar style quarterbacks in Trace McSorley and Baker Mayfield. Number 3, Georgia. Number 6, Wisconsin. I think would have been a good game.
Yeah, that would have been a really good game, really defensive.
And then number 4, Alabama versus number 5, Ohio State. I think that 8-team playoff would satisfy pretty much everybody except USC fans. But I think that would have been so much better than just 4-team playoff.
I think they need to expand it as soon as possible. I know they've talked about it a little bit, but they really need to just go ahead and do it. I don't really understand the reasoning behind not expanding it at this point.
I'll give you a few reasons. One, they said that they're going to give this a try for 10 years, and maybe they finally want to honor something that they've said, and this is only the 4th year. The second thing is they're not going to make as much money off of the same sponsors, so they'll have to go out and get new sponsors. Because do you think if, let's say, they make the Fiesta Bowl another playoff game, do you think, who are the sponsors of the other games? Capital One. Do you think Capital One's going to like that Sony's getting in on their prime real estate? So they're not going to pay as much. So they'd have to get good amount of sponsorship from all 8 or from 4 different places, and that's just going to diminish what they have, like I said, with Capital One and whoever does the Rose Bowl. I don't remember who it is that sponsors the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
But I think for the fans, God, get it to a 32-team
I know.
playoff.
I love that.
Who doesn't want, all-you-can-eat playoff football?
Extend it another month.
Just get rid of the meaningless out-of-conference games. Nobody needs to see Alabama and Mercer. Nobody needs to see Penn State and Kent State.
That's true.
Come on.
The murder games.
Exactly. Let Penn State play Pitt. I think that's decent. Even though they beat Pitt pretty easily, and Pitt's not that good of a team, the argument that that the NCAA could make for why Penn State should be a playoff team is when they scheduled Pitt was in the top 25. So they scheduled thinking they were going to play a good team, and it just so happened they weren't. Same thing for Iowa State. Let's say Iowa State scheduled Iowa. They play well. When they scheduled Iowa was tougher. They weren't as good of a team this year.
Right.
So they would have those going for it. But I think 16 is probably where it's going to end and stay. Because I don't see it growing beyond 4 round. Would it be 4 rounds of games for 16?
With 16, it would be 8-on-8, 4-on-4, 2-on-2, 1-on-1.
Yeah, so 4 rounds of playoffs, and I think that would be good, especially if you start the season a week earlier, and then eliminate out of conference games except for one. But I don't think these teams want to give up a guaranteed win. Because do you think Alabama, when they played Mercer, really wanted to have to play against a team like Washington or USC? Probably not. Probably not.
I would guess no.
Yeah, my guess is as well no. But playoff expansion is inevitable. In some ways, this is almost worse than the BCS, because the BCS had it set up that if you were a team from a non-Power 5 conference and you win a championship, and you're better or you're higher ranked than a BCS quality team from a Power 5 conference, then you got in. So Central Florida definitely would have. And now them beating Auburn shows that clearly the College Football Playoff Committee made a mistake by not allowing 8 teams. Oh, and we got a live update on a couple of things. The Knicks are within 2 of the Wizards in Washington.
Oh, playing a decent in an away game for once.
Yeah, but the bigger news is Albany losing to Hartford by 10 at the half.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
Come on, Danes.
surprising.
That is very surprising. Anyways, back to the expansion of the college football playoff talk. There is no reason not to, because you'll still make money. You will get sponsors. Capital One's not so important that a team or a sponsor like Sony, for example, using them because is the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl.
Right.
Yeah, because when I think of Fiesta, I think of PlayStation. And if they get all mad, just find another, another company. Like, I'll use this example: Ford. Ford is one of the big, vehicle manufacturers. They have a Ford Fiesta, so the Ford Fiesta Bowl would be kind of funny, right?
I think also people don't really care as much about the other bowl games when there's actual, playoff bowl games.
I think
so. You'd have companies vying for sponsorship if you expanded it, because they'd want to get in on it right away, and get that initial probably long-term sponsorship deal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they definitely would. The other thing you could do is not have, as many bowl games. Like like Florida State did not deserve to go to a bowl game this year.
Mm-hmm.
They were 6-6 with a backup quarterback who lost every important game that they played and beat scrubs.
Weren't they? Didn't we find that post on I think it was Reddit that showed that they were ineligible?
Yeah, because one of the games they won was against an FCS team. So
that hadn't hit certain parameters. So they technically should not have been allowed to attend a bowl game.
Yeah, well, I don't even care about that. I just don't think having watched them, I watched 3 of their games this year, and they did not look good in a single one. They looked terrible against Alabama. They looked terrible against Miami. Even though they were close in that game, Miami looked really bad too. And even beating Southern Miss, they looked pretty bad in that. So I don't think Florida State should have been in a bowl game. I don't think Southern Miss should have been in a bowl game, I guess. I think that we should have stricter standards for what, gets into a bowl game. Because I'd rather see a 7-5 group of 6 team get in than a 6-6 Power 5. Because the argument that I'm going to make is they might not be playing, against a Power 5 team, but they're playing pretty much equal competition to themselves. So I think I'd agree with that. Like, I don't know. I don't see how it's beneficial to hand a team like Florida State a bowl game this season, other than they've been to a bowl game 28 straight years now or something like that, whatever it is.
Yeah, okay.
That's all. It's to keep the streak alive. But you know what? As Eli Manning has shown us, streaks are meant to be ended. But
I'm sure Tony loves that if he's listening.
Yeah, definitely not in love with that. I'm pretty sure. If he were here, he'd be yelling at me right now. But expansion of the playoff, it's coming, right?
It has
to. Got to.
And I don't think they're going to do the 10-year thing. I get it, it's been a certain way for this long, and you want to make sure you don't ruin it. But you already expanded it. You already, instituted it. Expanding it to 8 teams when there's so many teams is not doing anything crazy.
Seriously.
It's going to make their job a little bit easier, at least for the selection committee, to select 8 instead